Hello everyone, my name is Omotala Omolayo and you're welcome to TechPoint Ask Me Anything. My name... Okay, so I'm here with Chinedu Azodo and Adetayo Bamiduro. They are co-founders of max.ng. So they founded Max in 2015, and Max is on a mission to address a critical issue in e-commerce in Nigeria, which is logistics. They focus on on-demand delivery, shipping, and warehousing. Hi guys, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. Okay, so Tayo, what does Max mean?
Great question. So there's tons of ways to answer that question, but I'll start from, it's actually an acronym. Max is an acronym for Metro Africa Express,
Okay.
which is actually the name of our US entity.
Okay.
But of course, Metro Africa Express is long, so we shortened it to Max, which sticks and is easy for people to remember. You talked about what we do a little bit in your introduction, that we do logistics warehousing. Technically, we don't do warehousing.
Okay.
We focus mainly on mobility, which is moving a package or moving a person from one point in the city to another point using technology.
Okay.
So essentially, we are now not just a last mile delivery company, but we're essentially a technology mobility company. We build systems, we create technology, and our operations is all focused on optimizing that process of moving packages or people from one point in a city to another point. And we're focused on Africa.
Okay. So do you have branches in other parts of Africa, like Kenya, Uganda, or...
That's a great question. We launched in Lagos for obvious reasons. Lagos is huge, by far the biggest economy from the perspective of looking at economies in terms of cities on the continent by far. So we launched in Lagos, but our goal is to launch in 50 cities over the next 4 years.
Okay.
We haven't launched any other Max product in any city as we speak right now, and for strategic reasons. Our strategy essentially is to solve Lagos's problem first, and then piggyback off of that to go solve problems in other cities. But we have a couple trips across a couple of cities in Africa over the next couple of months.
Okay.
Starting with Rwanda, where we hope to launch in the next, hopefully within a year from now.
Okay, so I learned that you guys were in TechStar.
Yes, we were.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
So I mean, for those of you who don't know what Techstars is one of the largest and probably the most successful accelerators / incubators in the world today.
Okay.
We got into Techstars in 2015, September. The class I think started September 21st, and we were there for about 3 months. The first African company in the program, the first Nigerian company in the
That's huge.
New York program. So yeah, so we kind of set the pace in that sense.
Okay.
So we got into Techstars. Techstars, so like I said, is an accelerator. One of the things that really helped us do was to craft our story, right?
Okay.
So when you talk to a lot of businesses, founders, people who do one thing or another, right? 99% of the time, what they're doing is sales or marketing,
Yeah.
right? And that's heavily dependent on how you tell your story, right? Because if I told you about MaxGo, which is our transport business, for example,
Yeah.
and I couldn't give you like my personal experience per se, or tell you a convincing enough story, it wouldn't be interesting to you.
Yeah.
So like most of the things you do as a founder at the end of the day is like marketing and sales, because you have to raise capital, which is marketing and sales.
Yeah.
You have to bring in customers, which is marketing and sales. You have to hire people, you have to hire engineers, you have to hire operations people. Everyone you have to convince to join your business. You're marketing them, you're doing some kind of selling. So what Techstars really helped us do was to look at our business and say, what are we really trying to achieve, and how do we tell that story so that we're consistently convincing for people to work with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it true that you guys just raised $1.2 million?
Wow, $1.2 million, that's a lot of money. We didn't just raise $1.2 million.
Okay.
We closed our seed round formally in March 2016, last year. We raised just under $1 million actually.
Okay.
But I mean, if you have $1.2 million and you're listening to this program, please give me a call after, and then we can have a conversation.
Okay. Don't worry, expect a call from me.
Look forward to that.
Okay. But why didn't you guys announce? You didn't make a formal announcement.
Okay, that's interesting. I wouldn't say that we didn't do a formal announcement, because after we did the round, there's all sorts of platforms like Crunchbase
Yeah.
that track VC investments across the world, and then most of our round was raised from the US, so that information actually is out there. But what we didn't do was to re-echo that, and to be honest, I just say Chinedu was too busy chasing after our drivers, and I was probably too busy trying to put some other things in place. I didn't remember to echo that, but it's not like we're trying to keep it as a secret.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, the money is it's not our personal money anyway, so if kidnappers come, there's no money for them. But anyway, we didn't make a lot of noise about it, probably because we were busy and we didn't think it was necessary.
Okay. So, Aditya just made a point about chasing drivers around.
Yeah.
You know, and this brings me to my question, sent by someone, of course. So, what was the most inaccurate assumption you made about logistics industry in Nigeria before getting into it?
Inaccurate assumption about logistics. I mean, there's a ton of them.
Like chasing drivers around.
So, Sorry, do you want to take a shot at this one? I feel like.
Okay. Are you asking us to review some of our business strategy? Because if you are, okay.
No, okay, let me try to bring the question in context of what I was talking about.
Okay.
So I'm sure you guys didn't know that you were going to have so much problems with people, like chasing people around to do their work, what you're paying them to do.
Yeah.
So in the light of that, what other challenges did you face that you didn't think about before getting into this business?
I mean, so generally there's a lot of inaccurate data in terms of market size, poverty, internet penetration, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Right. So I think part of the things we did when we first started, we underestimated significantly how inaccurate that data was. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we came into the market with in terms of assumptions with what we wanted to do, etc., a lot of that has changed and matured over time, because we actually now have data. We're not depending on some other person's source of data.
Yeah.
We have empirical evidence from what we've done that has essentially allowed us to continue to work.
Okay.
Right? So I never saw myself riding a motorcycle. Today I ride a motorcycle. I mean, you don't realize how fragmented the logistics structure is internally in terms of what papers do you need from who else harasses drivers, etc. There's a lot of harassment that happens, or that used to happen. Right? So I think one of the things that when we first started was just we completely underestimated that and didn't realize how much of a problem that was. But I mean, once we sat down and faced it, we tackled the problem, right? But it's just essentially that was the main thing. And I mean, for anyone who's starting the business, I think that's a critical thing to be aware of. 99% of the time, assumptions are wrong. Going with as much data as you can. I mean, part of the reasons why we didn't get destroyed as much as a lot of people have got destroyed is because we went in with a lot of data as well.
Okay.
But there's just a question of accuracy around what is accurate and what isn't accurate. Okay. But that's like been the most challenging thing so far.
All
the
right.
most challenging thing.
So you guys are bikers?
Yes, we are.
Okay, how long have you been biking?
About a year.
Okay, did you get into biking because of the business or because you had a love for...
We got into biking because of the business. Now we have a love for biking, right? But, I mean, when we first started, our office was in Ikeja, and you get a call from Reda, oh, Oga, they have stopped me in Lekki. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to drive to Lekki. I didn't know Lagos roads very well at the time, so Google Maps was my friend. Okay. And for some reason, Google was supposed to try to get me to go through that Apapa traffic. The first time I entered that Apapa traffic, I decided that there's no way I can do this thing anymore. It's just not possible.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So obviously, you start to learn, start to fool about. You want to learn how to ride a bike. Yeah. And obviously, after a while, we took it seriously and went to like proper driving school, paid for the service, and actually learned how to ride a bike.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to ask you this question, Ty.
Okay. Sure.
At what point did one of you ever say that it's okay, I'm not doing it again? Because Chinedu just made a point now about when the biking issue, and he was like, no, I'm not going to do this again. Was there a time where you guys had a major, I cannot do this again, it's overwhelming? Okay,
that's a very interesting
for the
question.
Business itself?
For the business and for you guys. I mean, you just felt, I'm taking my hands off this, I can't do it again.
You mean like take your hands off Max, right?
Yes.
I see. Interestingly, no. Have we been stressed? Of course. Have we faced tons of challenges that sometimes, make you feel a little discouraged? Yes. Okay. But saying that we're not doing this again, no. And I say that with a lot of excitement, because it's not what we're doing. We totally understand how difficult it is, but we still understand and believe that it is possible. So because we know that it is possible, if we're not achieving the results that we want quickly enough, we know that it's either we're not putting enough effort, or we haven't learned enough, which is probably the second. And that's what we're committed to doing on a daily basis. Now, the other thing also is, I think it gets to a point where you turn your back to something, you face something new, and you sink so much into it that you really just can't look back anymore.
Yeah.
So I mean, Chinedu, he did his undergrad in the States, worked on Wall Street for a couple years, went to MIT, and then turned his back on all of that to come down to Nigeria. And I mean, H-1B visa, all the privileges he had there, he's had to sacrifice to come down to Nigeria. For me, most of my previous pre-MBA experience was Nigeria.
Yeah.
But I went to the States as well, did my MBA, and it was a question of should I come back or not. But we pretty much settled this before we came down to Nigeria. So when we came and we faced all the challenges that we faced, and that we're still facing some of them, we knew that we burnt the bridge behind us. So it's not like we're going back to something else. Actually, they're not going to go look for a job, you know, no, that's never going to happen, really. Except you're going to pay us like $100 million a year or something.
Okay.
But what we do also is driven not just by the opportunity to, you know, make money, but even more by the opportunity to actually solve a real problem for Africa. Now, Chinedu even knows a little bit more about this than I do. When you're in the States, you know, we see a lot of, when we're in the US, some sort of affirmative action and people trying to, you know, massage your ego. But you know deep down in you that they're trying to treat you nice because they know that, well, deep down in their mind, they know that, you know, you're from a part of the world that doesn't matter. I heard former Governor Peter Obi once say he went to school in the US, I think at Kellogg, and his professor, and they were doing a class on the global economy, and they didn't talk about Africa. And then he asked his professor that, you know, sir, you did global economy, but you didn't talk about Africa. And he said, see me after. And then he saw him after the class, and he said, I didn't talk about Africa because Africa doesn't matter. Africa is not on the global map, so I didn't talk about Africa. And, you know, we hear a lot of stories like that, and it kickstarts something in you that, you know, we are committing our lives to building this continent. And of course, we can't do everything, but we can solve one of the most important problems on this continent, which is the problem of transportation and of logistics. So for us, beyond just the opportunity to make money, we want to change the narrative on this continent, and we are leaving no stone unturned to do that.
Yeah, great. Chinedu, I know you schooled here for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm talking now in terms of education. So before traveling abroad and doing your masters and all of that, how did that shape you?
Well, solid. I mean, so it's very important to know where you're coming from, right?
Yeah.
To be able to figure out where you want to go, right? So, interestingly enough, I went to primary school. I went to Barin Bio, just down the road from here, opposite YX office.
I see it.
Right. I went to Command Money Camp. Went to New Capital in Abuja.
Okay.
Went to Loyola Secondary School, Loyola JC College in Abuja. Then went to Futo for 2 years. I remember getting to Futo when I was the Ajibok kid in class. Because I mean, I didn't really know how to speak Pidgin per se. I mean, I was tall. If you want to get aggressive, I know how to get aggressive. But it was always, I mean, they laughed at me when I spoke Pidgin, right? And then by the end, like by the time I was leaving Futo, my dad had a problem with the way I used to take calls. Because I would be with him and taking a call, and he's just like, you sound like a tout. Like, what is that? Oh. Right? So, but the critical thing is, every experience, right? A lot of people walk into places and they experience the place and the place experiences them. Okay. While some other people walk into places and they just like withdraw and pull in, right? One of the things that has been critical for us in terms of being able to work with drivers, in terms of being able to work with police officers, area boys, customers, etc. Yeah. Is the fact that I'm able to switch between conversations at different levels of like social communication. Okay. So I can go from like straight up proper local pidgin all the way to like proper English, right? And go with an American accent or get all British on you. You know what I mean? So essentially, it's very helpful. Okay. At the same time, you also when you talk about being able to put yourself in other people's positions, right? The fact that I have such a diverse experience also allows me to be able to do that. Okay. So I can engage almost anyone, right? And for me, it's one of those personal skills I've been able to build, that I've been able to bring into the business and makes like business for us generally much easier to work with people.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good answer. I love that.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's talk about Max Go for a minute. That's the newest product you guys have. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is Max Go? And how does it work?
Okay, great question. What is Max Go? Max Go takes you anywhere. Or takes you to most places, maybe not exactly anywhere yet, within Lagos. Okay. Of course, our sites are set on other cities in Nigeria, West Africa, East Africa eventually, Southern Africa, maybe North Africa. when you look at a state like Lagos, particularly Lagos City, metropolitan Lagos,
Okay.
in 2012, yes, we learned about the ban on motorcycles going on major highways for good reason. There's lots of accidents and all of that. The riders are not properly trained, so it just made sense to find a way to curb that, at least in the interim.
Yeah.
But when we look at the stats of roads in Lagos, out of about 8,000 roads in total, thereabout in Lagos, about 6,000 of them are local government roads. Now, what that means is, I don't know if you know what a local government road typically looks like, but it's very narrow. Many of them are not in the best condition that they should be in. So if you're taking a car, you could be locked in traffic for hours upon hours trying to navigate, just a small distance.
Yeah.
And if you look at a state like Lagos as well, which is less than 1,000 square kilometers, it's very small. The only way to expand land in Lagos is to reclaim land from the sea. And that all has its own ecological issues and environmental issues as well.
Yeah.
Add to that, it's extremely expensive to do that. So essentially, we are left with a little bit of land for 21 million people today. In 2020, that would go to 27 million people. By 2030, that goes to 37 million people. So more people are coming into Lagos. We don't have a lot of land.
Yeah.
So how do we move around? And that's why we started Max.Go. That, okay, within the confines of the law, how can we solve this deep-seated transportation problem for people using motorcycles, but not just any kind of motorcycle. There are 200cc motorcycles that are very steady, very stable, very good for user experience. It's very different from them. They are entry-level power bikes, but they are not power bikes in the sense that most people think of power bikes. So it's not like this machine that's blowing at 200 kilometers an hour. It's not that. It moves at the same speed as your normal Okada, but it's bigger, it's bulkier, it's much more stable. And then, of course, you can't hail it on the street by just waving someone down. It's very organized. We have parks around the city where they hide out. So if you need one, you bring out your smartphone, you go on Play Store. Apple Store is not, it's not out on iOS yet, but it's available on Android. You download Max, start from Max.Go, you download it, put in your debit cards, very secure. You hail a ride and then a rider shows up where you are and picks you up and delivers you wherever you need to go.
At your destination.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have something to add to that?
No, I was just smiling and agreeing with you guys.
Okay, so this question is from Ugochukwu, and it says, how secure is Max.Go on Third Mainland, and how will it cope in the rain?
Okay. You want us to answer that here?
Yeah, you will.
Okay. So it's a entry level power bike, right? For the record, I'm about 150 kilos, and the bike's carrying me around everywhere. How secure is it? Pretty secure, because we train our riders not to go beyond like 60, 70 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
Right? And a lot of the time, what you actually have is, as a user, you can say, hey, look, I don't want you to exceed 30 kilometers. And the guy goes at 30 kilometers per hour, and you're good. Going from VI, for example, to Ikeja is a 32 kilometer distance. At 30 kilometers per hour, it takes you 1 hour. At 60 kilometers per hour, it takes you 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? I don't see why you're going at 60. You get?
Yeah.
In terms of how safe it is, the bikes are bulky. Excuse me. The bikes are bulky.
Yeah.
The tires are bigger. They have traction on them, etc. So if a vehicle moves past you, it's not like an Okada where the whole bike will shake and then you're dancing a little awilo on the bike. That's some scary ass thing, right?
Yeah.
With the 260 bikes and above, so we even have a 960 on the system as well.
Okay.
Right. With the 260 bikes and above, the bikes take you where you're going. It's comfortable. It's like a good speed, and it's pretty secure.
But I want to ask, is there a way to monitor the drivers?
So we track the riders in real time.
Okay, so you do.
So we track the riders in real time from the office. We have a response team in the case that there's an emergency.
Yeah.
We have a team that responds to you. We have accident insurance. The bikes are comprehensively insured, and there's passenger liability insurance. Now we provide that ourselves, because we found that a lot of people don't understand how to measure that risk.
Okay.
So as a user of Max.Go, in the case that is, God forbid, any emergency, there's enough money to take care of you in a hospital.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so Adeni asked, what's your USP?
Great question. Number one is safety. So 3 USP: safety, and then a couple of other additional things.
Okay.
Today, for example, if you want to go somewhere at 7 p.m., right, and you don't want to take a taxi because there's traffic, and you want to take a motorcycle, and you hail a random Okada guy, you don't know where he's from. If anything happens, they could rob you, especially for ladies. And to be honest, I have a sister, I have 2 daughters, and I'm married. I have a beautiful wife. And I know at some point they might need to use a motorcycle, right? But I don't want them using a motorcycle that, proper background checks have not been done on who the rider is.
Yeah.
That I can't even monitor them in real time, wherever they're going. So beyond just building this for the society, we are building this for our families. Chinedu's here, he has 3 sisters. Not just for, of course, it's for everyone, it's for guys, it's for girls, but the safety issue is so fundamental. All our riders, they do psychometric tests, so we make sure that you don't have a serial killer or someone on the network. They all go through very detailed training on how to do customer service, how to talk to people respectfully, and how to talk to a lady as well.
Yeah.
So beyond safety, there's also the customer service and customer experience part. And then finally is the issue of payments as well. And I mean, we see this all the time. You take a bike, you want to pay 150, but you have 500. So the guy forces you to go buy something that you didn't plan to buy initially.
Yeah.
Or you're taking 10 minutes to try to find change. But in our case, it's a very secure system. You put in your debit card, and you are charged the exact amount that the exact amount for your journey. So you get prices like 233 naira or 277 naira. We don't round it off.
Yeah.
You pay exactly what you use, and it's also very transparent. I think I should add this point. If you take Okadas in Lagos, even buses, the fare you pay most times is based on the mood of the driver.
Okay.
And whether it's raining. If it's not raining, you probably pay $100. If it's raining, you probably pay 250 or 300, right? If it's peak period, maybe you pay 350.
Yeah.
But with us, we don't do surge pricing like we've had other on-demand systems do. Transparency and affordability is very key to us while providing top quality service.
You can get a ride for as cheap as 100 naira.
Yeah.
So the first kilometer is 100 naira, second kilometer is another 100 naira,
Exactly.
Okay.
and every kilometer after that is 65 naira.
Yeah.
So for example, going from our office not too far from here
Okay.
to get here on a Max Go bike is I think about 280, 290 naira, which is not bad.
Yeah.
Going from Unilag,
For
for
that kind of
example,
experience.
exactly. Going from Unilag to Ozone on an Okada is
Yeah.
300 naira. On our system is 220.
That's cheaper.
Yeah, so it's definitely cheaper.
It was cheap.
Okay. So Bamjile asked this question
Okay.
for Chinedu. Logistics is the biggest pain point for e-commerce in Nigeria. What is your strategy for solving this problem? What works best? API integrations. You have 3 questions in one.
Okay, so logistics is the biggest problem for e-commerce in Nigeria.
Yeah.
What works best?
What's your strategy?
Okay.
What works best? And your API integrations.
So today we're focused on demand.
Okay.
We do have other products within the business that attend to different things. So we have a hub business that attends to higher volume logistics type companies. So people like Konga, Jumia, etc. We have a couple other clients like that who will run like multiple type of hub businesses, hubs for them.
Okay.
Just help them manage their business, improve performance, etc. For e-commerce, we have a specific package for e-commerce businesses where you're able to do things like 3-day delivery, 5-day delivery, interstate, etc.
Yeah.
What we've done with that is we've partnered with a bunch of high quality logistics companies that we've done run like proper checks on, and we know that they can deliver when they say they deliver, and essentially we outsource the deliveries through those kinds of systems.
Okay.
So that whereas those guys don't have the direct access to you, we now essentially build at that market and connect you directly to them to make the process easy and affordable for you.
Yeah.
Operationally, as a business, we focus on the on-demand space because that's what we want to roll.
Okay, great.
Then you asked about API integrations, right?
API integrations.
So we're at the point where we're not yet ready to make our APIs open. When we created the first version of our application, our system, we hurriedly did an API setup. And what we found then was that a lot of people shouted API but weren't ready to actually use it, right? Because and the argument is, why should I use app to place delivery requests?
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't yet make sense to a lot of people, right? At the same time, we've also found that there's been some changes inside. We want to hit a certain level of technical stability before opening that to more people. So essentially to avoid things like having technical debt in-house where we now have to change code and then now ask you, update this, update that.
Yeah,
So just to make sure that we have
exactly.
So just to make sure that we get to a point where we're very comfortable and we have the ideal product we want for people to use, we're not yet opening our APIs, but we'll get there.
Okay. So Kevin asked, great job at max.ng.
Thank you.
How do you guys get the bikes you use? Do you partner with people who own bikes like Uber, or you buy the bikes and employ the riders?
Okay.
Great question. Very happy to talk about this. So a couple of ways. Actually, they already mentioned logistics companies that already have a fleet, but are looking for some way to improve utilization. We bring them on board as partners.
Okay.
So they bring their vehicles on board, we do onboarding for them, introduce them to our technology and our processes, and then we channel jobs to them. So that's one way. Another way that we allow is with what we call partners.
Okay.
And a partner is someone who probably works a full-time job or has some spare money to invest in the motorcycle.
Okay.
So they get a motorcycle, we help them and support them in trying to get a rider for the motorcycle that we take and we vet. And then that rider works for the partner, and then they join our network.
Okay.
So we have quite a number of people in the network, yes. Yeah. We have quite a number of partners as well that have come on board. Initially, when we started, we provided financing for some riders that we really liked, and we thought these guys could be great for our system.
Okay.
But they didn't have 260 motorcycles. So we supported them and helped them finance motorcycles that they paid back over time. So we did that initially in installments, exactly. I made it very comfortable for them. But right now, primarily, we allow partners to put motorcycles on our network, and then we also allow logistics companies that we vetted to also put their assets on our network. Is there any other thing we do apart from that?
I mean, partners, logistics companies, and we did some initial financing, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is from Augustus.
Okay.
Safety is of importance. What are the measures you have put in place to ensure the authenticity of your riders? We've heard of Uber drivers going rogue on customers.
Okay. Augustus, right?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
So in terms of safety, when you talk about authenticity, so my understanding is that when you say that you're really looking at identity, we have BVN verification that we do in-house of each driver. We do KYC, so we know their locations. Each driver comes with 2 guarantors and 2 referees. So we have at least 4 people that we can contact. We have a next of kin, and we go and run background checks on each and every one that these guys come with. Some of the guys actually come to the offices when they're setting up with these people so that they can fasten or hasten that entire process. Because a lot of the cash, a lot of payments essentially as well for especially Max Go is all online. They have an incentive to not run away, right? Because they run away and they don't have any money. Now for you as a user, because we can also track in real time, if the rider is carrying you as a passenger and suddenly goes offline, we know and we can immediately take action. If there's any emergency response that needs to happen, we know we can immediately take action. For a user, you have a hairnet to protect you hygiene-wise. You have a helmet to protect you in the case of, you're falling or something, I mean, God forbid. And then there's liability insurance as well to protect you during the ride.
Yeah, so if the driver goes offline,
yes,
what will happen? What
we know
happen
immediately.
in that
So
kind
if the
situation?
driver, so first of all, a driver can't go offline
Okay.
if he's in the middle of a trip. The app just won't let him.
Okay.
Now, if he disconnects from the data, we will know on our end because it will essentially alert that this guy is not available anymore. We can't track him in real time.
Okay.
So that really becomes a problem for us. Now we'll start to try to reach the driver, try to reach the customer, and if we cannot reach either of them, we really know where we last saw them on the map, and we have people going out there to go and check and see what's going on, just to make sure that we don't have any kind of issues.
Are you in partnership with
Law
Nigerian
enforcement?
security systems?
So we've built a system that will allow them gain some kind of insight security-wise.
Okay.
But we're not in any direct partnership with anyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this question is from Ayo Badmos.
Okay.
What is your fleet size? I think you've answered that.
What's our fleet size?
Okay, what's our fleet size?
Yeah.
We can't give him that one now.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's big
Yeah.
enough.
It's huge.
Okay. Moshope Folua said, it is known that cab hailing service operators in Nigeria get assaulted and in fact extorted by security operatives. How do you take care of this challenge with Max Go? Please note that I've experienced this firsthand and heard stories too. So this person has had a first-hand experience with security operatives being extorted.
Okay.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
Okay. That's not a problem that is unique to our industry. It's a problem that everybody faces in one way or the other. But in our case, we have found the police to be our friend, and no pun intended. It really is. It depends on how you engage with them. Chinedu comes from a military background.
Okay.
So law enforcement or people that handle arms, generally there's a way that they think, and because of some of the experiences that we've had, we understand how to engage them much better than the average person might.
Okay.
And to be honest, I mean, in our business, they've been extremely helpful and cooperative with us. So regarding that issue of extortion, I really can't speak to that because I mean I don't know the specifics of the incident that he had, but what I would say is it all boils down to how you engage them. If you engage them very gently, very respectfully, and you don't operate with preconceived notions. It's what I see around a lot. The moment people engage an officer, they want to back out and say, hey, leave me alone, you want to extort my money. But it's not really always like that. They're just doing their jobs and trying their best to keep us secure most of the time.
Yeah.
So I'd say handle it as best as you can, but if there's a genuine assault, or someone trying to take advantage of you, I'm sure the police have like hotlines that you can call and the Servicom as well that you can report these incidents to, and I'm sure they'll look into it.
Okay. Taslim said, how many parameters do you use to calculate costs? I learned you talked about distance. What about time?
We don't charge for time. Motorcycles generally don't get stuck in traffic.
Okay.
So charging for time is just us. It's not something we consider doing at this point.
Okay.
In terms of other, so that's parameters from a customer endpoint.
Okay.
The other parameters we can't really share.
Okay. So what about keeping a motorbike waiting? So there's.
So generally we tell bikers not to do that.
Okay.
You want a rider to wait for you. You should end the trip and go and do other trips. When you're ready to go, we'll send someone to come pick you up.
Okay, great. So you have to be on time if you're going with Max Go.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so from Adefemi, do you handle logistics for e-commerce entrepreneurs in and outside Lagos?
So regarding the e-commerce plan, I said we have products in-house.
Okay.
To actually get information about this, send an email to success@max.ng. Success is SUCCESS, right?
Yeah.
Max.ng. And we can provide more information for e-commerce customers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Sukari asked this question.
Okay.
Are there plans to expand to other states? If so, which states are your first target?
That's a great question. We look at a couple of things when we launch in a new city.
Okay.
But I mean, if she could shoot us an email and let us know what state she's in, that would also count. We are very data driven in our approach to business.
Okay.
So we look at a couple of things like population, potential market size and demand, and smartphone adoption rate and all of that, penetration of electronic payment services, etc. But if you are in what is considered one of the major cities in Nigeria, watch out.
Okay, so Ibadan or Abuja.
Is Ibadan a major city?
Well, it is.
But there's a major.
It is.
Why I'm saying that because I grew up in Ibadan.
Yes, I grew up in Ibadan too. So hello.
But there's definitely a major city.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of Amala in Ibadan, but there's tech in Ibadan as well.
Okay, nice.
Very
I'm happy. I've never been, but before I went to UI actually.
Yeah,
A combination
that's
of
true.
Amala and tech.
Okay.
Watch out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I know you guys have this 3-hour delivery target thing.
Yes.
Have you
Yes.
been meeting up?
So recently we've been swamped with way too many deliveries than we expected. So we're working on continuing to expand our fleet. So you might see here and there that there might be a few complaints here and there. But generally, we continue to focus on improving the quality of our service and making sure that we're continuing to meet those deadlines that we set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wale wants to know that how do you intend to drive around or move around during rainy season?
Well, that's a great question. So we made provisions for that. There's raincoats that the riders themselves wear, and we're making provisions as well. I think we're about to dispatch a new set of raincoats for our riders, also for passengers.
Okay.
So we're picking up someone. There's raincoat available for you at no extra fee, actually.
No extra fee.
Oh, that's interesting.
Raincoats.
So we get a free raincoat.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
You get a free
And I can
raincoat
take it
For the
You
ride.
can't take it away. That stays with the driver.
Okay.
But the hairnet that you get for the ride that goes under your helmet,
Yeah.
you can take that away.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so I heard that you guys, when you were debating or trying to find a name,
Okay.
Zoom Baba was one of the
How did you hear
Ask
that?
Chinedu about. I don't know about that. Chinedu can
Where did
comment on
that
that.
come from?
that you considered Chinedu. Yeah, you
How
were the one
did
that
you-
came up with Zoom Baba. Like
Where did
of
you
all
guys
the
get
names
that?
in the world,
Oh my god.
Why?
You have CIA in this office.
why that?
I mean, so the thing is, it's one of the corniest names I thought of. Zoom, Baba, Voom, Zoom, moving around, right?
Of
Moving
course.
around.
But where did the Baba come from?
Built for Africa by Africans,
Oh,
right? So,
Yeah.
if you look at a lot of the most successful companies across the continent,
yeah,
they're not African-run businesses,
yeah.
right? I don't know. I mean, it's easy to understand some of the reasons behind that, right? Let me not say I don't know why, but I have a good understanding of that.
Yeah.
So part of the reason why we made this decision to do what we're doing is to not just build something that's successful and builds a system of success, support for people who work within our system, but at the same time to serve as some kind of example that, hey, look, you can do it too, right? So Zoom obviously came from like moving around, delivery speed, etc. But the Baba is built for Africa by Africans.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was thinking Baba was just a random thing. Like,
No, at all.
person driving.
No.
Okay. Tayo, what's your sleep pattern?
Interestingly, a little bit more regular now. Early days, it was really crazy. I mean, especially when we were in Techstars in New York, we were running operations in Nigeria. We were also participating in the Techstars program. So we were essentially working 2 time zones. It was very crazy. Then we would get maybe 2-3 hours of sleep every day. Now I get more hours of sleep. Also because our team is bigger. But I think Chinedu might have a slightly different experience.
What's yours?
Techstars was hell. I mean, Techstars was wonderful. My sleep pattern then was hell. Let's get that clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I sleep better than I used to. But I guess I'm not at the point where I don't get to still enough sleep yet, but we'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you two meet?
Business school. So I remember this was 2014, 2014 September.
Yeah.
And I've been meeting all the Nigerians, like who are in the MBA program. Say, hey guys, what's good? You know, I'm interested in doing business. I want to go back to Nigeria and do e-commerce, focus on the mother and child. Or I want to go back and do agriculture. Who are the guys going back? And I thought I was going to see a lot of people going back, but people were dodging me like wildfire. And then I heard about Tayo, who had just helped Kong and launch K-Express at the time.
Okay.
So I mean, I had a chat with him. It seemed like he was doing cool stuff. Told him about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And obviously, everybody continues to do their own thing. Yeah. And then after a while, I found out that they were building something called. They were building a logistics business. Then I don't think it had a name. Did he have a name?
No, they didn't have a name then.
So they were building a logistics business in class. It was one of those entrepreneurship classes.
Okay.
And had already done some work with entrepreneurship in terms of like classes and etc.
Okay.
So I came. I'm like, hey, can I just participate? And they allowed me to participate. And I'm like, I can do tech now. I can be your tech guy. I can do finance. I can be your finance guy. And then we did. I mean, and I guess we're here today.
Okay, so you didn't have a background in tech and finance?
So I did, not in finance. Computer science, I used to build software.
Okay.
Old school software, to be more specific. Not really web-based technologies, more like building desktop applications with VB.NET and Java frameworks back then. But Chinedu he's not just, so he's mentioned tech, but it's not just tech, it's really product. Because I mean, you can find a lot of people that can code. There's very few people that can really think at the very strategic level and say, how do I use codes to create something very beautiful? Okay. And that's something that he had orders of magnitude much more than a lot of people, even at MIT, talk less of in Nigeria. So he brought in a very, very strong dimension from a product standpoint. And of course, finance, helping to build our financial models then was very important, especially for fundraising.
Okay.
But I mean, to add a little bit to how we met story. In MIT and Harvard, because MIT and Harvard in almost the same community, literally. Okay. We have tons of Africa conferences, right? And every time we have all those Africa-related conferences, everybody would turn up. Oh, we love Africa. Oh, we want to help Africa. And then it's time to say, okay, who's going back to Africa? And then they all disappear. And then the next year at the same conference, they're all there again. In fact, we've heard that many of them come to those conferences to look for spouses anyway, which is fine. But there are very few people that really have love for the continent to the point where they are willing to make that sacrifice to transition and come back.
Yeah.
And he had that, I had that. So it was just very natural for us to connect at a much deeper level than folks who just thought Africa was this nice place on the planet where you send some money just to help some poor people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's a question from Somto. How do you handle the selective ban on Okada riders?
You should come and join Max and find out.
Okay. They're offering you a place on Max. Okay, so what is the maximum weight that you're allowed to carry?
In terms of delivery?
Packages or?
Packages, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
I think officially what we have is 12 kilos.
They're about,
right? On the average, you see that people don't really give us anything more than 9 kilos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then Titilola asked, you came second when you competed at TechCrunch Disrupt.
We want to create a bear.
Yes, now.
How did you feel competing on a global scale?
I mean, we compete at a global scale, so it was nice to be on the platform,
Okay.
the TechCrunch platform, really showcasing what we could do and what we had done at the time. I mean, Ty is a global guy. I'm a global guy, so it was a lovely, wonderful experience, and it was also very humbling. We were very grateful to be there. Because we had also been at Techstars, we had met a lot of people,
Okay.
so we were very prepared for that kind of setup. So it wasn't overwhelming in the sense that maybe people would have thought that. We weren't really intimidated. We could go to toe-to-toe with people on whatever accent they wanted to go on. So we didn't also have that communication barrier that other people would have at that particular level. So it was definitely nice. I don't know if Ty wants to say much about it.
Yeah, do you want
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I said it all, we enjoyed it. We weren't overwhelmed as well, like he said. But I think what I would add to that is we're also heavily mission driven, and what I mean by that is Techstars was nice. Sorry, TechCrunch was great and it was good for media exposure, but we didn't feel a sense of accomplishment necessarily.
Okay.
Because for us, accomplishment ultimately is building a billion-dollar company that solves a real problem, and not getting a lot of hype without having a lot of substance behind it.
Okay.
So the hype is important, no question about it, and we like we like when we get hype because it's great for visibility. But we recognize that the substance is very essential, and we just stayed focused on trying to build a real company rather than basking in media and publicity and all of that.
Talk to me about your fears.
Fears, we have none.
Men of Steel.
Are you kidding? Personally, you don't.
Sorry?
You don't have any fears.
I mean, we're human beings now, so...
So what are you afraid of?
What am I afraid of?
Yes, spiders.
Oh, no, I'm not afraid of, like, living things. So.
I'm just saying. What are you afraid of?
Let me see. I wasn't prepared for this.
No, but seriously, what are you guys afraid of? There must be something
At this point,
that scares you.
Max or beyond Max generally?
Max and beyond Max.
The biggest challenge we've had so far at Max, I wouldn't say we're afraid of, just maybe a concern. Let's step it down a little bit. A concern or something that we think about often is finding mission-driven people.
Okay.
We've tried a lot of different strategies and we're figuring out what works now. But we've seen that paying people too little money or a lot of money sometimes doesn't really affect output or performance that much.
Yeah.
Pay them too little, they're disgruntled, they don't focus on your work. Pay them too much, they feel very proud and feel like they can just boss people around and they don't really add a lot of value.
Yeah.
So we've seen that it's not so much even about paying people a good salary is very important. We don't question that. But finding people that really are mission driven and really just want to solve a problem for the sake of solving the problem is quite a challenge in this part of the world. And we know that maybe because of some of the challenges we faced historically as a nation and going through several years of dictatorship and all of that has made people has pushed a lot of people into survival mode. But what it takes to build something extraordinary and something enduring is thinking not about how to survive, but how to leave a legacy. So finding people that have that mindset is something that keeps us awake at night all the time.
Do you think that is a problem that is Nigerian specific?
in terms of mission-driven people,
Yeah.
I mean, in Africa, I have Nigeria experience, so I can speak to Nigeria, right? I don't really have enough experience in terms of to be able to speak to how it is in West Africa, like Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, or East Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, or in South Africa, or North Africa. So I can't really say, but that has been my experience in Nigeria, yes.
Compared to maybe the United States?
Compared to coming from America, yes. So I mean, so for example, people who work in our business typically get equity in the business, right?
Yeah.
It seems to make no difference whatsoever. So it's almost like, yeah, I know I'm getting equity, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, so if you need to move someone on, for example, right, and you have competition around, hey, we need to meet a particular type of targets, you don't really seem bothered by the fact that there's potential equity that could actually go if they lose equity because they haven't vested if they move on, all those kinds of different things. So, but you now have a lot of people who also come into the business and are just amazing. And I'm thinking, how do we get 10, 20 of you? and less of this person.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what's happening.
Yeah.
And I wanted to throw something in real quick. If you're having issues maybe signing up on the application or something, shoot us an email real quick to tech@max.ng. Send us your phone number and email, and we'll sort you out real quick. Okay?
Yeah.
At your lowest moments,
Okay.
who were your biggest supporters?
Human beings, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we're both Christians, serious Christians, not Christians filling forms. So we draw a lot of support from our faith. We also draw a massive amount of support from our families.
Okay.
Chinitu's dad is a minister, and Chinitu's mom is also a minister as well.
Okay.
In my own case, my mom is also a minister, which is interesting. But beyond that, both our parents, very interesting enough, also spend a lot of time working in, or spend a lot of time working in things that improve Nigeria, things that contribute towards helping Nigeria to become a better country. So, because of that kind of background that we've come from, we draw a lot of strength from our heritage, knowing that life isn't just about building a big business and making tons of money, but it really is about contributing something and helping people to realize their own dreams as well, and giving them opportunities to express themselves. I think one of the things I would add to what you said about our team is amazingly young. I think I'm the oldest person on the team. I am actually the oldest person on the team right now, and I feel old sometimes. But we have amazingly young people who are super smart. We have people who joined us even before they left school, who already own equity in the business, etc. So, that's it. We draw strength from our families. We draw strength from inspiring people that have joined the business. We draw strength from amazingly young people who are doing amazing things at their age that even we weren't doing when we were their age. There's just a lot of inspiration around us. Never a dull moment.
Okay. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, same. I mean, speaking of how young our people are, we had people who joined us at 19, 20, 22, 24. I think after me, I think like maybe the average age in this is somewhere around 23, 24.
Yeah.
So most of the
That's
office is like super young. And it's helpful because there's a lot of energy, right? There's also a lot of camaraderie.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's nice.
What's your Nigerian dream?
Nigerian dream.
Dream.
One Nigeria.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward that Nigeria ultimately rises and becomes. They are G7 now. I think they kicked somebody out lately. So Nigeria goes back and makes it G8. That's it.
That's deep.
So Nigeria is 180 million people.
Yeah.
The average poverty rate is 46.8%. It's a disaster, right? We have 80 million people living in poverty, right? Effectively, and that stuff affects mentality, affects your mindset.
Yeah.
Right. For me, like the big dream for Nigeria is to truly not just first of all, this giant of Africa we're always claiming, please throw it away, like pack it up and throw it inside one dustbin somewhere.
So we're no longer giants.
We were never giants of Africa, right? We need to essentially get to a point where what we're saying matches what we're doing as a country. We need to build a country of accountability. We need to build a country that has proper support, like systems of support. We need to build a country that is thinking.
Yeah.
So if you ban something, there's an alternative, right?
Yeah.
If you want to do X, Y, Z, you can't just come and knock down buildings, for example, and have people go back to their villages when you don't have alternatives for them to go to, right? You can't just decide that, if you have people rising against a government in opposition, the solution is to shoot them all, right? Because the problem with that is you fuel that fire, you don't solve the problem. Right, and when you have a system that poverty is endemic, for example, where people are not being heard, where people are not being taken care of. I mean, look at the North, for example. I mean, part of why my personal opinion, as part of why Boko Haram was as successful as they were in Nigeria at the time, was just because of the amount of poverty that existed in the country.
Yeah.
Right, people should need to be able to earn a decent living wage, but that also means creating those jobs. If you, as a government, for example, or as an individual, is not able to create those jobs, but the environment then should be made affordable or easy for other people to create job opportunities so that people can thrive and succeed. So I dream of a Nigeria, of a great Nigeria. I dream of a Nigeria where everyone and woman has a voice. I dream of a Nigeria where everyone and woman understands their voice and understands their power. I dream of a Nigeria where 180 million people means 180 million people who have the ability to actually impact and effect economic change, policy, accountability, etc.
Yeah. Okay, so this question is from Chidiman. Is among the last questions we'll be able to take on the show.
Okay.
So how can a non-techie person build a techie-driven business idea that would make a difference in the society?
Interesting. How can a non-techie person build a tech-driven business idea, right?
Yeah.
I'd flip that question on its head and say everybody should be building a tech-driven business. It doesn't mean everybody has to go and build technology themselves.
Yeah.
So if you're using technology in any little way, if you're using Google spreadsheets, or you're using Google apps, or you're even using email, the business is already, tech-driven, no matter how small it is.
Yeah.
So it's not, don't be hung up on having to learn to code to build a technology-driven business. There's a term that we learned at MIT. It's called an IDE. It means innovation-driven enterprise, which is different from an SME. So everyone who starts a business today says, I'm running a startup. Okay, well, this test for a startup is whether it's innovation-driven. And ultimately, the goal of every startup is to dominate the world, right? So if you're running a business that is innovative and is technology-driven and can scale and have 1 million users, then you're doing a startup, which is why you can raise tons of money even before you have revenue. But if you're just starting a small business and you're hoping to grow it in the future, what you have is a small business, it's not a startup. So I don't know exactly what this person is looking to do, but if you're looking to do an SME, maybe start a restaurant or start a small fashion shop, by all means, that's okay. Get some basic POS system, get a website, put your stuff online, get online payments activated, do social media marketing, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Get people to help you, even if you don't know how to do it yourself. But if you are on the other side of the divide where you want to build a business that hopefully takes over the world, then you need to dig a little deeper. I don't know where to start from. Maybe you can shoot Chinedu an email, and it can help you with some preliminary things to think about.
Thank you for volunteering me for work. So in terms of that, I echo what Tayo has said.
Okay.
Studying on Instagram is leveraging tech. That's tech-driven. Like, the question is, when you leverage that tech, what's the plan to actually grow that to the next level? Because when you start a business, there are 3 key things, right? At least when you look at startups. Marketing. Some people look at marketing and sales as one thing. We look at marketing and sales as different things, right? So, but for this example, I'll put them in one bucket.
Okay.
You have marketing and sales in one bucket, right? Focused on bringing people and converting people. You have operations in one bucket that's focused on giving people the exact same experience all the time. Consistency. Why? That drives things like retention, drives new customer base, whatever. Then you have technology. Now, if you have these 3 things, take a bucket. A bucket that is, you have a small pail of bucket, 5-liter bucket, right? If it's cracked, that means your operation is broken. So if I pour water goes out. Water here is customers. Abi?
Yes. Yeah.
So sales is what brings that water. So whoever is going to the river to fetch water, that's a sales and marketing person. They pour customers in. Operations is broken, customers go out. Yeah. Your bucket is solid, it's not cracked. I come with operations with sales. I pour people in as customers. Operations is tight, so the customers stay, they are retained. Now, where that startup now comes in is how you leverage that technology. Let's say you start out, you're doing like a store. You leverage Instagram. You start out with Instagram. Instagram allows you to go from a 5-liter bucket, put tech in there, scales it to a 10-liter bucket. You have more customers. The operations is still tight, sales is still working. So people are still reading what you're doing, right? You go from there, you say, Omo, I don't hammer. What do you do next? You don't relax. You then say, how do I get to that next 1,000 customers? How do I get to 2,000 customers? You go on Konga, you list. You go on Jumia, you list. Your bucket does what? It increases in size. That's what technology does, right? And then you do like David Wedge. I mean, that's his name. David Wedge, that guy who like does like nice mention. Exactly. So you go from the Konga Jumia type business, and then you realize, man, you have so many people in your bucket that Konga and Jumia cannot allow your bucket to grow again. What do? You now employ somebody. If you don't have this thing, employ somebody. Put money aside for this. Employ somebody or a team. Build out a solid product. Don't go and write code. Build out something that works, is consistent, and can scale. You build out a solid product, right? You now have to now take money because you are leveraging Instagram, Konga, and Jumia sales before. You have to now start doing more for yourself as sales as well. Meaning you have to now drive your own invest money as well in your sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Now your buckets have gone from 5 to 7 to 10 to 12 to now having like a tanker of water.
Exactly.
Where the water is people. So what technology allows you to do is to continue to scale. Operations allows you to continue to retain customers, and sales and marketing allow you to bring in more customers. If you get those 3 things right, you should be fine. But like, don't be cheap on your tech or sales. It's a money spending activity.
Something.
Okay. So can you say that email again for Chidima to hear?
Oh, email for people having
email
difficulty
address.
signing up or any issues. Yeah.
No, for this non-tech
For startup
person.
coaching.
For now, for startup coaching, my email is chinedu@max.ng. Tayo's email is tayo@max.ng. For those people who are looking to talk to Tayo, his email is tayo@max.ng. If you're interested in e-commerce solutions for your business, the email for that is success, success @max.ng. Max is max.ng, by the way, max.ng. If you're having issues, maybe you can't sign up with the application. You can't sign up with the application, for example. You can't log in. Maybe you have feedback you want to share with us. You just really like what we're doing. Shoot an email to tech@max.ng. TECH at max.ng, not TEK, TECH at max.ng.
How about the eggheads that want to come on board?
People who want so we're recruiting. We're recruiting for operations. We're recruiting for our engineering team. We're looking for interns and actually full-time positions. And we're looking for people who are digital marketers who can essentially engage customers, figure out how to enter, do market activation, etc. And if you're looking to work with drivers, our drivers are the coolest drivers. We're properly trained. We have like packaging, whatever that is. If you're looking to join a team that's focused on changing Africa, solving problems, right, and just taking things to the next level, shoot us an email at careers@max.ng, careers@max.ng.
Okay, thank you for advertising yourself. You pay me later.
No,
sure.
One last question so that we can wrap up this session.
Okay.
Talk to us about funding.
Okay.
How do you go about raising funds?
That's a very interesting question, and there's no exhaustive answer to that. I can speak a little bit from the experience that we've had. Typically, I mean, you've read this in a lot of books. You want to have an MVP before you raise money. If you're a first-time entrepreneur or you haven't succeeded massively before and you're starting a business, of course, it's a little harder to convince people. So it makes a lot more sense to build a working product, no matter how basic it is, something that people are willing to pay for, launch it. A prototype, essentially. Or an MVP. I think an MVP is a better thing that I would...
So what's MVP?
A minimum viable product. It's kind of like... let me quickly describe what an MVP is. If you look at like Toyota, for example, Toyota goes all the way from like Yaris to like Avalon. And the 4x4s. The Yaris is kind of like an MVP. It's the most basic car that people will pay money for, right? It's not a wheelbarrow. Nobody will buy a wheelbarrow for a car. So your MVP is the smallest thing that you can build that is valuable to someone. So it doesn't need to have a lot of bells and whistles, but it's valuable enough for someone to pay for it. Build that, get some people using it, and then go raise money. But if you want to raise money on an idea, there's a bookstore in Oshodi there. You can buy 20,000 ideas. The book costs about 500 naira. I mean, ideas are not worth much.
So what is worth the money?
A working product that people are paying for.
The MVP is worth the money.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any other thoughts?
I mean, I completely agree with them with that.
Okay. So thank you guys for coming. It's been an interesting time. Thank you everyone that joined us today, that sent in questions. We really appreciate you. And from all of us here at Tech Points, we say thank you very much. Join us again on the first Thursday of August for another exciting edition. Till then, bye.